You're listening to the Rival and Queen podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Sarah.
We love you guys. Sarah and I have been reflecting a little bit and getting so many beautiful comments over the last few months and messages. So our hearts are truly so full, and we can't express how much we love the Rival and Queen community. Sarah, it's been almost a year. It's so crazy.
It is crazy. And yeah, happy Thursday, everyone. So happy to be back with you guys. It's our favorite day of the week.
It's our favorite day of the week. And we have a very important event. Our last summer virtual event is happening tonight. And it is a makeup lesson with Vicky Mina and your beautiful and talented sister, Jennifer Murphy. And we can't be more excited to continue the conversation. And join us if you're listening and it's still Thursday for you. Grab a ticket and come hang out with us. It's going to be so fun.
You can become a makeup expert or a mini expert.
Or try.
I'm not a makeup expert anyway, but I love these events so much because I always learn so much.
And it's so fun just to hang out.
Totally. And yeah, for anyone who is interested in joining tonight, you can get tickets online, rivalandqueen.com. And all of a portion of all our ticket sales go to Business is Jammin', which is a charitable initiative as part of the Black Business Initiative. And they help empower Black youth through entrepreneurship. So we really love them. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, it's a super great cause.
Also, we launched our YouTube channel, guys. So we want to just let you know all the fun stuff happening. So if you haven't checked that out yet, head on over there and you can see us be a little weirder visually.
You can be watching us right now and see what we're doing.
All the hand motions that go along with the conversation. Right. And for anyone who's new here, we love you guys. We're happy to have you as part of the community. As Ash said, we launched last September. And since then, it's just incredible the amount of people we've gotten to know. And Ash and I often reflect on it and how many new friends we've made through this experience. So we love you guys.
It's so crazy, Sarah. Every week I feel like we're interviewing new people and they somehow become a part of our lives, which is pretty much why we started doing this. And I think we're being successful at that for sure.
That's fun. We're hitting all our goals.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of making new friends, we've recently been hanging a bit with Allie, who is the Luvo rep here in Nova Scotia. And she's so lovely. And we went to Garden Food Bar, Sarah. I kind of caught you at the end. You were leaving to go on another drink, I say date? Meeting.
We did a rotation. Yes, Ashley, I went out for a drink with a gentleman. But Garden Food Bar was amazing. And we had a great experience there with Allie. And you've got something you want to tell us about.
Well, I didn't get to try the bucket because you guys had finished and we didn't want to order another one. So tell me about the Luvo wine bucket, Sarah.
Okay, so I didn't realize you didn't get to experience this. Literally, there were like two ships crossing in the night.
We were.
Passing in the night. I don't know the expression. Anyways, so we went to Garden Food Bar specifically for a drink with Allie because they started serving this Luvo bucket, which was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Shout out to Garden Food Bar, great little spot in downtown Halifax. But basically, it's like a build your own sangria with the three different Luvo wines, which are like a white, a rosé, and like a muscat mint, which is lovely. But it comes like with all these berries and cranberry juice. Anyways, we had a great time. I wasn't drinking. I obviously had two homemade sangrias. Because how can you resist your own concoction?
You had to do research as well and try it out to see.
I just thought it was a very clever way. It's so funny, like, though I do think about it, these deconstructed things are essentially less work for the restaurant, but for some reason, as humans, we love them more.
I think it's because you can kind of customize what you want.
Build your own.
I have seen it on social media and I did get to see it, the aftermath, but definitely go and check that out. And one of Allie's friends joined us who actually works at Spinco. Shout out to Emily. She told me to give her a shout out if I brought this up. But we were talking about things. I was saying how I love to move, that I weirdly look forward to moving. I love moving.
You love moving house.
It's great. And she looked at me and said, "That's your serial killer power." And I said, what?
What?
What does that mean? She said, every single person has one serial killer power. It's something that you can only get away with and that you can only do. And it's something maybe weird, but no one else can do it, but that's yours. So it got me thinking, is this true? Like, do you have one? What's yours?
Well, first of all, I would like to second Emily's opinion on this matter because it is strange how much you love to move. Like a dreaded task for most people. And you're like, nope, cleaning house. Everything that you don't want anymore is gone. You're finding a new house. You're moving, you're shaking. And it happens quickly. And I'm just like, what is going on?
Everyone's head spinning.
Yeah. And you're like, nope, must move. I love that. So that I've never heard that term before. Obviously, you missed the Luvo bucket and I missed this entertaining conversation. A serial killer power.
And you might not know it. And I feel like it's just one of those moments where you'll say it and someone else will think it's just the most absurd.
Insane.
Yeah. And I can't even remember what Emily's was, but hers was something I was like, no, I couldn't do that. So I think it's something just specific. I don't know what yours would be, Sarah.
Do you know what's coming to mind for me is Colin Cody, who we had on the second episode of the podcast. He loves to clean and like meticulously. And like, I think that's a serial killer superpower because like, I think of that and I'm like, dear God.
I know people with that power. Yeah. And I know it's next level.
I don't know what my serial killer superpower is. This is insane. Well, I love this. It's a mouthful. I'm gonna think about it.
Like you can bake anything. Like that's not normal. But I think one day it's just going to come to us and we're going to realize that's Sarah's superpower.
That's like a weird one. Is that the thing? It's like an odd one. If anyone's listening, please tell us what your serial killer superpower is. I think it's
just something that you find pleasurable or you really like, but 80% or 90% of people do not.
But I know.
I know. A fun little topic.
I love this. This is a great question. We're putting it out through Instagram this week.
And Sarah, speaking of this week.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We can't get through this episode without obviously talking about that we are 4 days from my birthday. Is that true? Yes.
Yeah, 4 days. 2 days from July your 20th. Party, kind of our daily activity, our celebration. Party. Yeah, and then we will obviously celebrate with a nice little dinner on your actual birthday. Do you want to tell everyone how old you are?
Yeah, I have a weird obsession with birthdays. Ooh, this is maybe where my serial killer power is. Maybe it's like I'm obsessed with my birthday and everyone else's birthday. So
you're like the birthday hype girl for everyone.
Yeah. And I'm not weird about age because I'm like, I love it. Every year is just better and better. So I'm turning 32, July 20th, super amped. We're going to have a day of fun. We always have a day of playing. This year we're going tubing. Very amped.
Lazy river tubing.
Oh, I can't wait. So much fun.
Not whitewater rapid tubing, Nicole T.
No, we're going to go on a lazy river. Do you know what I love? It's like one of the days where I'm like, I get to choose the thing I want to do most. And like my friends will just come along with me for it. God love them. I hope you have a good time too.
I can't wait. I'm from the Valley, but I've never done this. So I'm so pumped.
I'm so stoked. So I have one thing I got to tell you that I think is going to blow your mind a little bit. And then I actually need help with something. So I'm obsessed with ice cream cakes. My poor friend Katie, who I live with, once bought me a regular cake. It's like a beautiful cake.
Well, not just a regular cake, like a layers cake. If people know that bakery, which is a beautiful cake.
Yeah, a beautiful cake from this amazing bakery in Halifax. It cost like $60, $70, something like that. It was wonderful. And I like had to tell her weeks later that I was like, I really appreciate that, but please just buy me an ice cream cake in the future.
I'm like that too. I like just a straight up regular, even a pound cake or a cake out of a box sometimes, because it reminds me of when I was younger.
We all have our preferences. And that's like the beauty of birthdays. You should choose what you want.
100%.
But I don't want to confuse this. At my party on Saturday, we're going to have an ice cream cake because I want that. Mm-hmm. But I've had to turn down my second ice cream cake on my actual birthday because I'm starting to get food out. I'm so
Oh,
allergic
yeah.
to ice cream that I can't have two.
No, that might
So
be too much, Sarah. I
I
think.
know. So I have to get a different birthday cake for my actual birthday. We don't know what that's going to be yet. Do you
Okay.
have suggestions?
Well, I could make you one.
Ooh, Ashley Gill.
AKA get my mom's recipe and just make it because my mom is an amazing baker. But you know what? We'll talk about that, Sarah. Whatever you're thinking.
I'm open to new experiences this year, which is
Okay.
this is
But
a big
you'll
step.
check that big box with the ice cream cake and hopefully be satisfied.
Totally. So the other thing, which I think this is an important component of everyone's birthday, whether people like birthdays or not, we can, if people don't like birthdays, this is definitely my serial killer superpower. I can craft them a birthday they're going to love. I'm convinced.
Because a
And
lot of people don't like their birthdays.
it's fine. They just got to find the one that they do like.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that together. So if you need help for any of your friends, let me know. Um, an important element of a great birthday, play and fun. So of course we've got a piñata
And
because
alcohol.
obviously.
Oh, yeah.
So here's where I'm stuck though. I got top-notch candy for the piñata. I'm looking for some like, what are some other fun adult things I can put in there?
I thought alcohol. The
Yeah, I'm
little
gonna get some mini bottles.
shooters. Yeah, or the little
Yes.
pre-made shooters. I feel like I've been at a party.
I was
What
debating
other
getting those like
fun?
snap lottery tickets. What are those things called? I've never used
Oh
them.
yeah, I know what you mean. I think
Those,
that's what they're called.
okay.
They peel up.
Peel back things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Oh,
any other ideas?
oh my goodness. I can't think. I think that candy chocolate
Oh, don't
alcohol.
worry.
Okay.
I've got the good chocolate like Bueno and Reese's cups and
Maybe one better than everything kind of gift. So there's only one. It's like someone's going to get that one thing.
like a full chocolate bar. I was
Yeah,
thinking throwing in
something.
like a full lotto ticket, a full chocolate bar.
Man, your birthday's going to be amazing. Everyone's going to want to come.
There's gonna
But
be
don't
like,
forget to wish Sarah a happy birthday on Monday, July 20th.
and if before Saturday you hear this and have any ideas about what to put in pinata, please tell me.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 10 of us going crazy after it. Can't wait. I love it. Ash,
Yes.
today we have on a very special guest,
Oh, so special. I love her.
Martina Kelades. She is one of the BNV Media family. We have the same producer for our podcast. She has her own podcast, Life Out Loud. And we sat down with Martina this week. We love this conversation.
Martina is focused on really talking about mental health and well-being, and also her goal is to talk about fears, vulnerability, and courage out loud. So that definitely goes hand in hand with people who suffer or experience anxiety, because it is hard to put those feelings that you have inside or those thoughts out. But that's what Martina's aiming to do, and continue a conversation related to mental health and wellness. And like Sarah said, she has a podcast, and that's what her business is about. So she's just such a beautiful soul, and I can't wait to meet her in the flesh soon, hopefully,
In the flesh, that statement kills me
in
all the time.
real life.
In real life, I feel like you two really connected in this episode. I mean, we've both really connected with Martina. We love her. But I feel like you two had like a soul sister connection, which was lovely.
Yeah, I thought that too. And she's just so, and I mean, she's from the Valley as well, which we talk about a bit. So we definitely share some similar experiences growing up in a small town in that community. And then, of course, some things she's gone through. But no, I think you're right. I think that sometimes people can kind of try and sympathize with you or your experiences or your history in your past, but I felt like she literally was like, I get you, like I see you and I feel it, and I could really feel how genuine and sweet she was. So it was such a delightful conversation with
I know
Martina.
we're dying to meet in person. I feel like we'll all just like
I
radiate
know.
light.
I
Um,
know.
In this episode, guys, Martina really, as Ashley said, she does a lot of work in the mental health space and educating in that space. And so she actually talked about how she found her way through burnout and shared that experience with us, kind of on the path to creating her own company. We also talked a lot about how vulnerability really helped her and gave her kind of a lot of freedom and power. And one of the things I love, it comes up kind of throughout this whole conversation, but it's also a big theme in her podcast, is she really normalizes what being human is like. I think sometimes we hide the messy bits, and we really share all those things. And I think Martina does that in all her work, which is beautiful. So this is a nice conversation, and some nice reminders to tune into ourselves and keep moving.
Absolutely. And I feel like she's just on the beginning of such an exciting journey with everything that she's doing. And she's doing such an incredible job and obviously getting her kind of voice out there. So check her podcast out if you haven't already.
Yes. And you can find her at life. I'm just making sure I have this right. It's lifeoutloud_NS. And then you can also follow her on Instagram at, let me see if I mess this up, lady_Kelades. So it's all in the show notes. Find her there.
I love that.
All right, Ash, shall we dive in?
Let's do it.
Yay.
She is the founder and creator of Life Out Loud and the Life Out Loud podcast, and she's also a fellow BNV Media family member. Welcome, Martina. We're so happy you're here with us tonight.
I'm so excited to be here as well. Listen, I've been following you guys for a while, and then also being a part of the BNV family this is just so cool.
Yeah, I know, and that's how we connected, which was awesome.
Yeah. Got a great group of local podcasters, and I mean, there's podcasters abroad too. But I'm really proud to be a part of a unique group that we have here in Nova Scotia.
It's really thriving. I feel like when we talk to Mark or even just via social media, there's always new people and new conversations popping up. So it's really fun to see everyone growing.
Yeah.
It's friggin' awesome.
Yay for podcasters.
And I also want to point out that Martina is also from the Annapolis Valley. I'm a Valley girl, so I always like to shout that out because we are from, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places in our province. So Valley girls at heart forever. When did you actually move from the Valley?
It was about 10 years ago. So I think it was a couple years after we got married. So that was 2008. So yeah, around 2010.
Okay.
Where were you living in the Valley?
Well, I grew up in Martinas, and yeah, Martinas, like right behind the soccer field.
The mall.
Right.
Nice.
And in front of the mall, yeah. We had
right on the main strip.
It has grown so much since I've lived there. Like now they're just like a Winners, and you've got like the little shopping areas actually right across from the subdivision where I grew up. And I've also lived in Wolfville for a bit, and my husband and I house sat in Cambridge. So I don't know if you're familiar with Cambridge. It's in the mountain, North Mountain, that side. Yeah. Yeah. So we house sat. It was great.
You've been all over.
Yeah. And then we moved to the city. So we lived in Waverly, and then we bought our house in Cole Harbour, which we've been here for 8 years now.
Wow.
Do you miss the Valley?
Miss living in the Valley? Not really. My family's still there, so I certainly go down and visit them when I can. But I like living in the city. I feel like I'm just a city girl at heart. I've always wanted to live in the city. Actually, in high school, I wanted to move to Toronto. It was kind of my next move if I didn't go to university. I was like, I just want to go to Toronto and live there and experience big city life. And then, of course, I met my husband. Well, that's probably not going to work so well. But I'm glad Halifax or HRM is my home, because it is a very unique city. While it's not big, it's still, big enough to experience all the different activities, and you have shops, and especially local shops. Like we have a lot of great local retailers, and yeah, and then I can still drive to the valley just an hour away, you know, go check out some vineyards or
Yeah.
um, hike trails, and yeah.
Yeah. Get back in touch with nature. If
Yeah.
you looked at yourself 10 years ago or 8 years ago, did you say living in the valley, would you kind of picture yourself or expect to see yourself where you are and doing what you're doing now?
Mm-mm.
No?
Not a chance. No,
What?
no. Um, I kind of just before we left, like I had finished my diploma at NSCC, so I did the addictions counseling training, and then I started working in the field shortly after. And I, in my head, like I knew that I'd be doing that role for a while. Like I kind of actually felt like that would be like my 30-year career, basically. Um, but then, you know, over the years, the last 10 years, a lot has changed and shifted, um, work-wise, personal, in a personal sense. And it just kind of led me on this path to where I am today. And so while I never had anticipated this journey, I'm certainly grateful for it. I just have learned over the years to really lean into kind of the things and the opportunities and even the experiences, the not so great experiences that have you know, transpired or unfolded in my life, and see that as that's part of the journey that I'm supposed to be on. Because I've always just kind of I'm a planner, like I need to have full control over my life, and it's such a unrealistic expectation to place someone's self, is that you will plan like the rest of your life until the day you die. Like, not that I actually kind of thought that, but I was like, you know, all these little situations that I'm like, I have control over that, or I have control over that, or I'm going to be doing that. And over the years, the more that I'm focused on that control, the less control I'm given. So it's just kind of been taken away over the years. And a couple of years or a few years ago, I saw a quote by Lauryn Hill. It was like, you can't plan life. All we can do is be available for it. And so that's kind of been my mantra, just kind of keeping that in the back of my mind when things don't go the way I anticipated. I'm actually supposed to have like 2 kids, a great career, house with a big white picket fence, you know, the husband. You know, that's the only thing I've got.
Got the husband.
Too, but
You're checking a few of those boxes.
So
but
before,
it's like for so long, I think we just kind of, you know, this is going to be our life. And I'm 35 years old, and well, no kids. I have 2 cats. I guess they count too for me. But you know, I'm happy with, you know, where I'm at and what I have right now, because that's what it was meant to be. So
that's beautiful.
yeah.
So before we get kind of too far into the episode, Martina, could you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, that's always such a loaded question.
If not, I've got plenty of questions to ask you specific to what you're doing.
No, I'm just teasing. So yeah, my name is Martina Kelades. I am the founder of Life Out Loud Mental Health Consulting and Creatives, which is a business that kind of runs twofold. So there's the creative aspect, or actually the consultation aspect, where I work with organizations to really hold space around mental health, psychological health of employees, and really just promote overall mental wellness in the workplace and in other areas in our lives as well, because that is certainly important. I also teach mental health first aid, so training around how to support someone who is in a psychological crisis, and how do we, you know, lend support and provide resources to someone who may be developing a mental health problem as well. So that's part of the training part that I do. I do a lot of customization around different demands within the workplace or organizations. And I've also done a lot of speaking events as well. So I'm finding that's becoming more popular, speaking opportunities. So that's part of that umbrella of my business. And then the creative aspect is through the writing, blogging, and just recently the launch of Life Out Loud podcast.
which
Yeah.
we love.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so 9 episodes in. Today was the ninth episode release. And yeah, I'm really proud, but I'm just also really happy that I took a step into getting that portion of my business up and running, because it is such an important part of the work that I do, especially the narrative work.
Totally. And for anyone who hasn't listened to Martina's podcast yet, we highly recommend it. It is fantastic. Plus, Martina's got the loveliest voice. So it's great to just listen to.
It's such an interesting career path. When you first talked about the addiction and counseling training that you involved in, and then obviously being so involved in helping people kind of triage perhaps mental illness symptoms, or kind of if something happens, how they can deal with those things. That just seems like a very heavy, big choice to make. How has that really kind of like resonated with you and your passion? What drew you to kind of help people?
Yeah, it actually, it's a lot heavier than what, sometimes I even, think about. Even in my training, like I had courses around like um, being a helper and, self-care. And I don't think I really even learned to um, practice those strategies intently until like later on in my career. And I knew I didn't want to do addiction specific work. I just thought at the time that would be way too much on a day-to-day basis. But I wanted to um, do work that, had a very basic foundation in how to support people, working on personal development, and really helping people see and reach their full potential in life. And so that's when I got connected to an employment agency, or what they call as a work activity center. So working with individuals who require additional help and support in developing employment skills, and sometimes industry specific skills, so that they can get retrained and move into those areas. So whether it's like office skills, like general office skills, or working in a kitchen, or doing maintenance work, that my role would be to support those individuals around the personal development piece. Sorry.
No worries. Someone needs you. Speaking up.
I'm so sorry.
That's all good.
Yeah, where did you go? So basically, I did that work for a while, and it wasn't until the last few years in my career when I started to realize that this is a lot. And I think part of it was that a lot of the clients that I worked with were coming in not just necessarily looking for support around how to find the next job, or how to gain skills like employability skills, but also how do I take care of myself if I'm a single mother and I'm on income assistance and I'm not even getting enough money to, buy groceries. And so like how, we're encouraging like healthy eating so that you can, show up to work and you can have the energy to do the work and those sorts of things, and sleep well. But yet there's, a root problem that's not being addressed. And then on top of that, a lot of the clients that I worked with had identified as having, some kind of mental health challenge. And so it almost felt like the work that I was trying to do was almost like just putting a Band-Aid on the issue, just to kind of get them out and then get a stat so we can get, additional funding. And that's not how it really is. But in my experience, that's kind of like the image that I kind of held, because it's like you see these individuals day in and day out, and it just became so exhausting. And in the process of that, supporting and working with people in that capacity, in a professional capacity, I started to forget about my own needs. And I thought, therapy was the only place and time that I would be taking care of myself. And then through the process of therapy really opened up a lot of stuff that I just hadn't dealt with over the years. And then that became like something,
Mm.
another thing that was weighing on me when I didn't want to address it. And I just wanted to avoid it. So I kept busy and I kept doing more work and staying busy and active. And it just, I got to a point where, well, I burned out and I just became so mentally exhausted. And I wasn't effective in my work. Like I, would dread someone coming in to ask for support because I'm like, I don't like, we're going to do this again. We're going to have
Yeah.
a conversation again. I knew I wasn't the right mental space to pour out because I had poured everything. And so as we know, it's important that we put our mask on first, that we, you know, do the things that we need around self-care so that we can really show up and give our best selves to others. And I wasn't doing that. And it really, um, it suffered, like a lot of areas within my life suffered because I just wasn't able to show up and be who I needed to be in those situations. So yeah, and that kind of led to the mental health journey, I guess, where I was like, I just I want to focus more on what's going on in the mental health realm because it's, over the years, of course, as we know, it's just becoming such a hot topic and more people are talking about it. And yeah, I just wanted to be a part of those conversations in a way that I felt was meaningful and purposeful. So here I am, life out loud.
Well, and when we talked originally, Martina, like you told us that decision to kind of shift your career in that way was quite a tough one to make because I mean, maybe you can tell us a bit about this, but really you said it was like you were realizing that you weren't kind of practicing what you were preaching in those moments and how you were trying to encouraging other people to help themselves. You weren't taking care of yourself in that way.
Yeah, I really had that discovery when I was teaching in the continuing care system program. And as you know, like healthcare in itself requires a whole lot of training around, compassion care, burnout, stress, managing stress, and also taking care of those that are ill. And so the group of students that I was facilitating with, this was in collaboration with the nurse who also did the technical training. Um, I just remember I was talking about stress management, I was talking about burnout and what it looks like. And I think even as I was reading the symptoms or discussing the symptoms with the group, I was like, oh my gosh, check. Okay, check. Okay, no one needs to know about this one. Check. And and then I'm like really trying to have them see how important it is to take care of themselves. And then at the same time, this like little naysayer, a gremlin in my head was telling me that I was such a fraud because here I am talking about something that is apparently so important and significant in your professional world is also like your personal life. But yet I wasn't actually learning that lesson myself. And so what gave me the right to really stand in front of this group and talk about the value of self-care when I wasn't doing it. I wasn't practicing it for myself. And so it became a really, really hard struggle and inner conflict. And I did a lot of work in therapy around that as well. And that's when I started to learn about like self-compassion and, being gentle with myself and recognizing that, we're doing the best we can. And would I talk to a friend who might have shared the same story with me? Would I tell her that, you're such a terrible instructor to even like to say those things in the class and you're not doing it yourself? Like, how dare you? Would I say that to a friend? Most likely not.
No.
No.
Probably. Actually, no, I wouldn't. So, let's just be clear on that. But why, like, so how come I'm saying that to myself, And so I had to learn a lot about what it means to be gentle with myself and show myself some compassion as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that for sure, Martina. And how was it for you initially, I guess, telling people that you also had these struggles? Was that something difficult for you to start talking about?
That was so scary. because one of the things that I've learned over the years is that I've put so much emphasis and value to who I was as an individual, like to my work. So my work is a significant part of my own self-identity. And so when I started to have these struggles, um, I would then start to see myself in a negative light because I didn't see myself as that perfect professional that, you know, I have all these issues that are starting to, you know, be uprooted and come to the surface, and I'm trying to like pop them down and keep them under. But you know, at the end of the day, I was like, I can't disclose that I'm struggling, because then no one's going to trust me. Who will trust, like, that I am competent enough to support them and guide them through their own challenges if I'm sitting here struggling myself? And so it yeah, that was really, really hard, and I did my best to keep everything perfect on the outside, but I certainly was falling apart on the inside. And during that period of time, I was also working to start a mental health organization where our mission was to create a platform for people to talk about some of their struggles, and to really minimize excuse me, the stigma surrounding mental health, and talk about it in a real way. And that in itself also felt like a huge contradiction, because here I am also doing this work, but yet keeping quiet. So slowly I started to open myself up to the struggles around self-care, for example. But eventually my employer did, you know, have a conversation with me, which I'm so thankful for, and just acknowledge that, you know, they were concerned about my well-being, and it took some time for me to agree with them. I was in denial for a while, but you know, when I was open to, you know, taking some time off, I'm glad I did. It was just kind of like this huge weight that was lifted.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, it was so freeing. It's like, you know, something that you've been bonded to for so long. You know, this is years of getting to this place, and it's still years. I'm still working on stuff, you know, to I don't even want to say get myself back to where I was, but just to get myself into a place where I can feel, I don't want to say like 100% confident, because I don't know if that will ever happen, but in a place where, you know, I'm feeling freed by my
Yeah,
struggles.
totally. And I think, like you said, so many of us hold such a strong identity to our career and our work that it can be really hard if all of a sudden you're realizing that that's not feeling like it's supporting you anymore, just even to admit that and move through, like, yeah, and start figuring out how to move through that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
And
so much easier for us, I think, to look at our friends and give them advice and lift them up. But it's so much harder. What you're saying is resonating, to kind of think, well, I can help other people, though I'm dealing with that. You know what I mean? Like, put those two worlds together. It's so hard to kind of accept who we are and what we're feeling, but we can do it for other people and lift them up. It's such a weird struggle.
yeah, and you know, I would consider myself someone who a lot of my friends are open to having conversations with me about like some of their own challenges, or they trust me in that. But I think I surprised a lot of my friends too when I did, you know, come out about where I was and how I was struggling. And so sometimes it's like, yeah, you check on your strong friends too, because sometimes we're not always, you know, willing to just kind of share or be vulnerable. You know, if we're always seen as the supporter, the one that's, you know, always there to encourage you or to help in some way. So I had a conversation with my best friend about that a while ago, but yeah, checking on friends too. The friends that you think have it all together. You know.
Give them a call.
So what did you do, Martina, when you took that break? Like, how did you start kind of finding what was next?
I slept. I laid in my
Sleep.
bed and I slept. I had years of sleep, it felt like. Um, no, when I first went off, I was just kind of like, okay, what am I going to do now? But then I went into a place of, all right, now I have nothing. Or, like I said, my identity was so much around my work that I was like, well, I don't have that, then I've got nothing. And, what is my purpose now in life? Because I can't even do my job, the thing that I've done for the last 10 years. And I did spiral into a bit of a depression. And I just struggled to try, like I just wanted to just hide under the covers and remove myself from the world, and I didn't want to talk to people. Like, I'm such a people person. Like, I love being around people, and I just
You
felt
love people.
so much. Yeah, I love people. But it just felt so much. Like, it seemed too overwhelming, and I didn't want to talk about what was going on either. Um, but I did, tap into my faith, and I just really tried to find things that were encouraging, messages that were encouraging, quotes. I did a lot of writing, which I really enjoyed. And I can, it was, you know, a few months down the road that I, started listening to Brene Brown. I came across her TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. And that was a huge part in my shift, and just recognizing, okay, like even learning about what vulnerability is, because you know what it is, but you don't really know it. Like, Brene has done so much research around it, and the stories that she has shared around her research around vulnerability and courage really resonated um, with me, and so I just started like leaning into some of her work, and also um, I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but I also came across this image of this young girl who was terminally ill at the IWK, and I saw her picture on Instagram, and it was of her holding this little puppy, and she's in a wheelchair, and her body is just so frail, and she had the most beautiful smile, and I just saw so much joy from that photo, and it reminded me that, even in the midst of the valley, the lowest, darkest place in our lives, that there is still a light that exists, can exist if we, um, allow it to exist, I guess, in our lives. So I really try to focus on what that picture said, and then when I learned that she had passed, also on Instagram, it was posted. I cried, because I was just like, this young girl, and here I am, yes, I'm struggling, and that's okay to struggle at times, but I think I just had a greater appreciation for life. I had a new found appreciation for, you know, waking up that particular day, for having air in my lungs. And I just, um, I just made a commitment to myself that I would, start looking at how I'm going to live the rest of my life, and focus on what I'm going to do with the time that I have left, and look at what kind of impact I want to have in the world. And so all those things started to just kind of help formulate my next move and what I wanted to do next, which was in entrepreneurship, which I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew that I had a message and I wanted to share it with the world. And I would figure out exactly how I would do that as I went along, and still kind of doing that. So a year and a half later.
Well, I think you are figuring out how to do that through, yeah, your podcast, but also how you work with people. Are you enjoying this new journey as an entrepreneur?
I am, oh, I'm still like, I feel like I just keep shifting. I'm the kind of person like, look, can I just do something for a little while so I can be comfortable? Because I'm not always great with change. But 2020 is definitely a year that is really challenging in many ways. Started the year off, and um, I was just, a year in, and I was getting contracts, and I was getting booked to do speaking events and training. I was like so excited. 2020 is the year. Let's go. Let's do this. and then
Spoiler.
Friday, March 13th happened. Shut all that down. And, I was like really mad because I'm like, can I just get a break? Can I just do what I need to do and not have challenges? But again,
No.
here I am, acknowledging that challenges are good, change is good, and it's really pushing me in a direction opposite of where I thought I would be going. You know, without sharing too much right now, but I really focus a lot on the training aspect of my business, the coaching and that kind of work. And I thought, excuse me, I thought that that's definitely the path. And now I'm like, did I really just nurture that more because that is familiar? That's what I've done for the last 10 years. I'm comfortable with, speaking in front of groups for the most part. Sometimes I still get a little nervous, but that's what I've known for so many years. And when that was kind of taken away this year, and now even looking at how do we do that in workplaces, and part of me is like, yes, there's Zoom and there's other alternative options to facilitate, but I don't know. There's other ideas that are kind of
Something new.
flowing, and it's really because of this launch of the launch of the podcast, where I had every intention of launching it early in my business, and never did I imagine I would launch it in the middle of a pandemic. That wasn't the plan. But just even through the work of that, and just thinking of like the messages and the content that I want to share on the show has kind of made me explore other areas around writing and just more of the creative work. And that you know what, that gets me so excited. Like the training I get excited about, but like my husband said the other day, he's like, when you talk about the podcast, when you talk about some of the other creative work that you do, like your writing, he's like, you show up differently. Your energy is different. And he's like, maybe this is an opportunity to focus on that. Maybe, not saying that the other stuff will go away, but I'm finding myself diving more into the creative realm, which is very, very scary because I'm just like, I still can't even tell you 100% what it will look like. But
2020. It's really, I was listening to one of Oprah's podcasts just a couple days ago. It was from the beginning of the year. And I was listening to it, I read the title, and it was kind of like a motivational speaker. And I thought, okay, I really need to hear some amp up right now. And the whole thing for a good 10 minutes was about 2020 and it's going to be our best year yet. And she went on and on. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just hilarious now in perspective, because this year has been a beast. And I mean, it's only we're halfway through. So I just had to add that in there. I thought it was hilarious. I just want to talk about vulnerability for a second, because I know you're talking with Anna Townsend soon, and Sarah and I just had her on recently, and I kind of want to unpack, like, how do you think, or even for yourself, that people can heal through the process of being vulnerable? Like, what does that mean to you?
for me, that healing is about, and I've said this so many times, and I've borrowed this from Dr. Brene Brown, but it is about owning your story. And it's really about allowing your truth to be free. And I think through therapy, I have done some of the most vulnerable work in that space, and I never would have imagined that I could feel a sense of peace, releasing some of the things that you know I had carried for so long. And so vulnerability, as I keep exploring, even in my podcast, I'm like, I'm talking about this so much, and I'm sure people are probably tired of hearing about it. But like I said on the episode today, it's like there are three resounding themes that keep coming up through the narratives shared on that show, and that's fear. Because I started the podcast scared to death. Doing it scared is the title of it.
I love that one.
And like here I am, I'm just going to do it. But also within that, there's the vulnerability, and that's just even just showing up and recording and saying my truth and talking about some of the challenges, and in doing that, we are being courageous. And so those three elements, fear, vulnerability, and courage, are, I think, pieces that I just needed to focus on the podcast, because I'm still doing a lot of inner work, and I think that's still part of my the healing journey as well. And so the vulnerability, I mean, vulnerability looks so different, and we're vulnerable every day and on different levels, right? And so it's just like, it's not just telling your deepest, biggest secrets for the world to see, or putting it on a billboard. Like
Yes.
that's not vulnerability per se. But vulnerability is also like, going on a first date. I said it, like, after a long-term commitment that ended, taking your first date, or like even asking someone out. It's being vulnerable, because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. We don't know what, we know what we're taking risks to a certain degree, but sometimes, that emotional risk, that can be so weighing on us. But when we do it, when we like lean into how we're feeling about these things, and we really evaluate how fear plays a role in the process of being vulnerable, I think that is the opportunity that we can see ourselves being also courageous and daring and braving things that are so hard to do. And I think too, like when you think about, like, when we share something, or we tell someone something, and I talked last week about the vulnerability hangover, like every time someone has shared something that was really hard with me, I've never thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. But what I think is like, oh my goodness, how courageous of you to be able to share that with me, or like, thank you for saying that, because I know that's not easy. And
Mm.
so vulnerability happens in so many ways, and we're vulnerable every day. And sometimes I think we don't really pay a whole lot of attention to how we're being vulnerable. I was vulnerable the other day. I was like having a conversation with my husband, and I was wrong about something. And like and it's funny, because I was just listening to a podcast about apologizing, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Oh, I could say that, or I can use those strategies, not a problem. And then this is what life does, is you learn things, and then you're put in a situation to practice it. That's the test. And so I'm like in
So
this
true.
conversation with my husband, and I'm like thinking about this episode I was listening to while I was mowing the lawn. And I was like, oh man, if I say this, then that's automatically going on the defense. Like, and I know this, and I would normally resort to saying that because I need to protect myself. But in that conversation, being vulnerable was saying, I hear you, and I'm really sorry that, you know my actions caused you this kind of pain, and leave it. Because sometimes we always have to justify too. It's like, "Oh, but I did it because I've been hurting for 20 years, and
Mm.
so you just triggered something in me, and so that's why I did that." No, that's not an apology. But it's being vulnerable in that situation was, honey, like, I hear you, I see you, and I'm sorry.
That's beautiful.
That's it. And frig, I hated that feel. I was like, I gotta do this. I'm gonna pass this test, because it's the
You
only
just
way
learned it.
forward. It's the only way forward, and it's the only way to live. Like,
Mhm.
Mm.
I feel so much more alive when I am vulnerable. I feel like, I think because for so long with perfectionism, that's another challenge that I still work through, is just having everything perfect. Like, and even like in my marriage, I just we got married so young, and we've both been successful in our own rights and doing whatever we're doing. And like I remember when Chris, my husband, was in the UFC, and so many people would say like, "Oh, you guys are like the power couple. You guys are like the Jay-Z and Beyonce. You guys are like, you guys are major goals, like relationship goals." And for a while, I was like, that's what I need to strive for, and that's kind of the image I want people to believe. But then after a while, I'm like, this is exhausting. Like, no, this isn't goals. Come inside the house sometime, and, but we just, yeah, when I was able to release that, and it's like, no, we have our struggles. We definitely have our struggles. I'm like, really? Yeah. Are you kidding me right now? We're human, just like everybody else. And, we're all susceptible to these challenges. And it's the only way that we've grown as well. So there's lots of lessons in vulnerability. There's lots of lessons in challenges. Again, it's just being open to it and receiving them with love and care. That's kind of been what I've been learning through it all. Still
Those are incredible lessons to learn, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Although
so.
painful, they're painful lessons to learn.
That's the only way we grow, right? When things
No,
are easy, how much
nothing happens.
experience? Really?
I love that though. The fear of vulnerability. That's a hard word to say. Encourage that. I wrote that down and circled it. I'm like, oh, so
Fear,
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one wants to be perfect anyway. I'm like you though, a bit, Martina, that it's hard. But I mean, try and live up to that. That's just impossible. So I've given up.
Yeah. But where does that come from?
I have no idea.
Where does that even stem from? Like the idea that we're going to have a perfect life, or that we're going to be perfect beings, or going to have a perfect career or perfect marriage or relationship. Where does that even come from? Because that's something I'm trying to navigate through now. And I think for me, a lot of it was the armor that I chose to wear, to not allow people to see any cracks, because those are the things, that's shame. Those are the things that kept me bonded. That's the shame around some of the things that I struggled with. And so, when I numb those emotions and I use other things like being busy, or just, trying to pretend that things are perfect, like that's only numbing my ability to experience joy. And that's when, like, when I saw that young girl, and it was just like I hadn't felt that feeling of a full sense of gratitude for life until I saw death. So it was just,
Perspective. Yeah, a big perspective. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like it's tiring to pretend that life is perfect, because it's not perfect for anybody. And I'm done trying. Have you believe it? So you're for me or you're not for me. And that's okay, because this is my journey. At the end of the day, this is my journey. And yeah, I just have a greater sense of peace, knowing and accepting that part in my life.
It's also very freeing. Like,
yeah,
like you said, where the growth happens.
Yeah, that's right.
So on that note, as you talk about this as your journey, can you tell us what Life Out Loud means?
Well, Life Out Loud, the title actually came from me just sharing things like through blogs. And I wrote a blog called Burnout Not Broken, and like strangers were just saying how they, also are struggling with certain things, or like how my message resonated with them in their own lives, like trying to balance family life and work life, and keep a relationship together, and keep themselves together. it just made me realize that I'm not alone on this journey. Like we say, we're not alone. We know we're not alone, but there's still this little story that we still believe that, okay, but I'm alone in this part. Like no one else has experienced this exact same thing that I am. But for me, it was just like, I just want to share. I just want to talk about how we're all placed on this earth, and we're having, so many different interactions with things that are happening in our world. Look at what's happened in 2020 with current events and world events, and how that has an impact on us individually, and also how we're connecting with other people. COVID, the 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 anti-racism movement, everything else, the local tragedies that we've experienced. And it makes me think about how we connect with people, and how we connect with community, and how we're strengthened through those experiences. And so I want to talk about that out loud, so that we can remember, and we can really and truly tune in an intentional way, and how these things are having an impact on us, our mental health, our well-being, and also like looking at how our interactions with those that we care about and those that we love have an impact on our mental health and our wellness. And also the inner work that we're doing, the self development or personal self management, that we tend to also try and engage in as well. Like how come motivational speakers are so popular, right? I think there's a desire, there's a thirst for always for self-improvement. And I think, there's a lot of opportunity for learning about ourselves, that sometimes we don't give the space or the time to do that, because we're so like, when was the last time we just even sat 5 minutes and we were just being, not doing, not thinking about the next thing that we have to do on our list, or things that we forgot to do 2 years ago. Like when was the last time we were just being? So that's kind of why I'm like looking at those 3 tiers of how we're interacting in this world with one another and within ourselves, as a way of really promoting and highlighting how important it is that we recognize it, that we talk about these things, and that we use them to live a fulfilling and a purposeful life, living life on purpose.
Love that.
That's the underlay, or the overlay, sorry, of Life Out Loud. And what an opportunity to connect through those messages, right? So that's why I was like, this is kind of like a revealing, in a sense, where so many people, even just when people message me or DM me about, something shared on the podcast, like that's Life Out Loud. That's you telling me about how that message resonated with you. You're sharing that, you're being vulnerable, and that's living.
That's really nice.
I know. I think you make it like in your podcast, and just having talked to you a few times, you make being human like normal. You're like, these are all the parts of being a human. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we've just gotten away from it. I don't know how, why. I don't know. For me, it was just being busy, so I don't have the time to think about it. And just being distracted all the time, that is the enemy. The devil is a liar. You won't take my joy away from me, So it's still a problem, because it's like, these are habits that have been formed for years. And so even now, like doing all the things that I'm doing, I'm finding that I'm still getting distracted. I'm still keeping myself super busy, and I have to pull back sometimes. I have to set boundaries, and I have to say, I don't have the time or the space for this right now. I need to do some work on myself. Or especially when you're, sharing so much, it's exhausting in itself. So I'm constantly reminding myself, even through the work that I'm doing out loud, that I still need to practice those care strategies, the self-care strategies too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sarah, I think you put it so well to me once about meditation, because that's something Sarah really practices and does every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I feel like Sarah. But I remember trying to struggle with even just sitting and being quiet or meditating, and you were like, "That's when you need it the most. When you can't actually kind of like take time and sit and be with yourself, then that means you need it the most, because you're kind of telling yourself, like you said, Martina, like all these other things that you need to get to or go to." And I think that's part of the vicious cycle, is that people just get in their head and think they should be doing something else instead of taking time for themselves. But it's definitely important.
What is that quote? Oh my gosh, I wish I could. If you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness or something like that. Maybe I'm making that
oh,
up.
that sounds right.
Yeah,
It's
I
I
something
feel
along
that.
those lines. And Ashley, as you were sharing that, like, so yeah, sometimes when we need it the most is the time that we struggle to really do that. And like even before I went off work, it was around Christmas time, so I had like a few weeks off for vacation, and my employer encouraged me to find this like little cabin in the woods and do some soul searching. And I was like, perfect idea. I'm gonna go find myself, and then everything will be perfect when I get back. And I just remember when I got to my Airbnb, it was like down in Caledonia, this beautiful little spot on the lake. Lake was frozen. It was just me. I brought my journals because I was going to
Mm.
write, and I brought these books. I was going to read like 3 books in a night, like. um, and I arrived, and the owners had like home baked goods, and they had like homemade wine ready for me, and the fire was crackling. It's like, this is perfect. And I'm going to do all of these things, but my body had other plans for me. I physically couldn't even like do anything because I was just so exhausted. And then I was just crying. And then I was crying so much. I was trying to ask myself, why are you crying? You need to be doing this. And it was just, I was forced to just rest. My
Hmm.
body was like, no, we're putting a pause on everything else you think you need to do right now. And you just need to be. And oh, I'll never forget that, because it's like we just want to not listen, but our bodies tell us so much. And I think, yeah, part of, I try and think of it like, if my friend was like telling me that you look exhausted, you should take some time to just rest. I probably, I might be like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll take a little nap. But when my body knows, and it's like, dude, no, we're not doing anything right now. You are in a deficit, actually. Lay your ass down and have a little rest. So that, it's during those times that we just think we can, and we don't need to, or we want to keep going when we need to keep going because other people need us, or other tasks require energy, or whatever
Hmm.
it might be. And that's why I really had to learn about boundary setting. I really had to learn how to say no. And I remember years ago when I was in school, going to university, I was teaching full time, and was just trying to do all these other things. My mother-in-law said, every yes has a no, and every no has a yes. So if you are saying yes to something, ask yourself, what are you saying no to? So if
Hmm.
a friend asks me to go for coffee, and I know that I have to prepare for an exam, I'm saying no to studying, which could also have other effects down the road. Frustration. I didn't do so well, and then I'm like pissed off at myself and whatever. Um, and and be okay with your decision, because sometimes I'd be like, oh no, I can't go for coffee. I've got to study,
Hmm.
and then like an hour later, be like, okay, but okay, I can do like a half hour, like can do a half hour, like, and you don't stick to your your no, and then that just leads to more frustration and you know challenges. So it's like, no, I'm saying no because I need to say yes to this. Um, I'm saying no to taking that other, speaking opportunity because uh, I've done a lot over the last few weeks, and I'm feeling really tired. And I don't feel like I'm going to be most effective or productive in my work if I don't give myself a break. Because if I say yes to this one, I'll take a break the next time. There's going to be something else, and then there's going to be something.
Totally.
And this is what happened with me burning out. It's like I'm just going to keep filling my schedule up with all these things and avoid the one thing that I really need right now. And again, I was forced to take some time off. I was forced to take a break. My illness said, nope, not today. You're going to learn to rest. So
I
it's
love
not
that.
you're in it, but looking back, I definitely see how powerful, you know, it is to just take some time.
Listen to
I,
your body.
yeah, I actually wrote about that today, and it's like your body will give you so many clues and signals. It's fine if you miss them, but if you don't listen to them, eventually it will just shut down and like force you to pay attention.
Well, yeah, this is it. All the other physical, effects that it has on, like, I have a weakened immune system and low white cell count, so I get sick easily, and I had a health scare years ago, and it's just like, and stress really brings out these symptoms, and so
Mm.
I can't afford to let stress take control because I'll lose everything if I don't take care of what I need to do. And that's why like working out is, beneficial, good for me. Like even getting in the sauna, like we got in the sauna the other day, and I'm like, my God love my husband. He has so much patience. But anyway, I was like looking at the time, I'm like, okay, can we get out now? He's like, just sit and just let your mind go. But I'm just like thinking about, okay, how much time I have left in this bloody thing.
I'm the same way.
I'm so hot and I'm getting irritated because the sweat's just dripping off of me and I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. And then I'm thinking about how uncomfortable I am. And it's just like, I'm not being present. So be in the moment and just allow your body to rejuvenate and refuel itself.
Even if you're in a sauna and sweating to death.
Breathe. I'm with you there, Martina. I'm always thinking about the next thing I have to do. And then like you can literally drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
I
It's
feel
good.
you.
And are you exhausted after like a day
Yes.
of continuously being on the next task?
Mhm. Yeah, I wake up and like I can almost feel my heart pounding because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. Yeah, but
How do you manage that?
it's been a struggle lately. I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. And Sarah and I went to the most beautiful sunset meditation last night with flow meditation, and I opened my eyes a few times, which I know you're not really supposed to, but I could see Sarah beside me. I'm like, she looks so peaceful. I wish that was me because I was trying so hard to relax. So I think it just depends on what state I'm in. Like it's easier to kind of, write and be calm and meditate. And then other times I'm like, I can't, I feel too manic. But I think like we were just
Mm.
saying, that's when you need to kind of just pull the trigger and force yourself to actually spend time doing it and enjoying it and slowing down while doing it. Not, oh, I have 10 minutes to do this and
Mm.
just be, but then I have to, make lunch and then I have to call someone. So I don't know. I think it's just being in the moment that takes practice.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think COVID is really COVID. COVID, this person. This whole
This
pandemic.
evil person.
I think COVID has really taught me how to no, but just this whole experience of being in this pandemic has really um, reminded me about the value of being present and
Mm.
being where I am because you know life is uncertain. And you know what? After a while, I kind of got drawn into that narrative about yes, it's unprecedented times. Like I'm tired of hearing that word, and even like just everything is so uncertain. It's like but it's always been uncertain. I had like a light
Yeah.
bulb moment. I'm like, life has always been uncertain, right? Like, yes, we don't know what's going to happen at the end of this pandemic, but what about what's happening right now? Like, what are we doing to like serve ourselves now in this moment? We can't predict what's going to happen in the future. So why are we trying? I mean, planning in a certain regard is certainly important, but I mean, in terms of our own um, self-management and responding to these uncertain times, the only way to really do that is to be in the here and now and to be
Mhm.
present and prepare our minds so that we're in a state where we can um, focus on challenges with a clearer mind, and that we can strengthen our resiliency because we are working through these things effectively, these challenges, and doing our best, right? So I think that was kind of something that I've learned is like, yeah, I just need to pause more in life. I just need to just remind myself that I'm here now and not, into next week. Because I go by the weeks. Like I'm just like, oh, the next 7 days I've got to do this. It's like,
God love
I
you.
may not even wake up tomorrow. I may not wake up
Exactly.
tomorrow. So why am
It's
I
it's not worth it.
spending all of this energy on something that may not be, like, not to sound morbid, but I'd rather like put my energy into something that is right in front of me.
Mm,
And yeah,
that's a good way
so
to think about
I'm,
it.
girl, I'm with you, but I'm still working on it every day.
We'll have to talk offline sometime. Oh my gosh. Too
But
No, it's a journey.
it
It's
is,
a journey.
yeah. But that's what brings up my anxiety a lot too. It's like always focusing on the future.
Hmm.
And it's like reminded me, like, even when I was really depressed, I was focusing so much on my past.
Hmm.
So like I'm at both ends of the spectrum, and it's
Which you
like,
can't control. You can't control the past and you can't control the present.
and
Or
that
the
has
future.
Sorry, the future.
so
Thank you, Sarah. You can only control the present.
and it's when we're in the present, the here and now is when we're able to really experience the peace in
Hmm.
order, yeah, to live.
Oh, I just wish I could hug you both right now.
I know. This is so nice. We're going to have an offline conversation about this because this is totally beautiful and freeing. I
Where,
love it all.
We'll be vulnerable together.
yes.
I love that. Um,
So beautiful, actually.
Martina, Ashley, do you have any other questions on this? Because
No, I
I
want to
want to
know both.
ask a totally
Same. So
off the
switch the
wall
gears,
question.
Sarah.
Okay. So thank you for sharing all that with us because it's absolutely beautiful. And I think so many people can relate to that. This has been one of my burning questions, which is totally left side. Tell us about your, what I'm going to call infamous TikToks, because they
Yes.
are the most unreal thing. And if someone, okay, everyone has to go follow Martina on TikTok. We'll have the link in the show notes because they are unreal.
I think I watched the one you put out today three or four times. I was just like, how
Oh,
does she do this? She's
Brown.
so on point.
I love Sweet Brown. I've used that line so many times in my work. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like, come on. Is that the one you're talking about?
It was the news anchor one,
Oh yeah,
and
Sweet Brown.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
you were excellent actress. I feel
Oh,
like.
thank you. Do you know what is funny about the whole TikTok thing? So I had Musically years ago, the app, and I was supporting a youth, and she was like, "You got to get this app," and I'm like, "No, not this app. Like, that's not for me. That's for like kids, and I'm gonna stay off of it." But we did a couple of videos together, and then like I stopped doing them, and then I deleted the app. And then during this pandemic, it's like, okay, what's this TikTok? And when I went to go search it, it came up like, you already downloaded something, you just hit the thing to re-download. I'm like, oh, I already had this. But I realized it was a new company. And so I opened it up and I'm like watching these videos. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are hilarious. Like they're so funny. I don't know why they were so funny before, but anyway. Um, and then I was just like, I was feeling so heavy by everything that was happening, like the tragedies in Nova Scotia, and just my mental health was not in a great state, and I just needed laughter. Laughter has always been kind of that thing that helps to lift some of the weight and just find some light in the world again. And so I started um, playing around with the videos, and then I found Medea videos, which I love Medea, and I
So
started just
good.
doing them, and then um, I just had like a couple items here that I used to dress up, and then I was like it was so well received. I'm like, I gotta do another one because people are like looking for more. So I'm like ordering stuff online, like wigs.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Like, what are you doing? This is getting out of hand. But then it just became so much fun. Like I just get into character and I forget about what's happening around the world. I forget about the struggle, and I'm just, again, it's being present. It's just engaging in something that just fuels me, and I just found it so much to be so much fun. So I just thought I'd share it with the world out loud. I'm sure someone else could use a laugh, and I just kept doing it. Not as often because now things are kind of reopening and things are getting back to
Keep them
somewhat.
coming, Martina.
I will do my. You know what? I am striving for once a week because I am like this.
Amazing.
Now this is like a self-care thing. So like
Good.
my
That's
husband's like,
awesome.
what are you doing? I'm like, it's TikTok time.
This
I
is
am not
for
available
me.
for the next hour and a half.
I know they're really time consuming.
Oh
I've
my gosh.
watched people's and some of the things and effects that you can put on there. I just haven't tried that hard, but it seems not that easy.
And then yeah, and then learning the
The dances and
the the, the voices, like just trying to align yourself with the script,
script.
I should
Yeah.
say. Um, yeah, so sometimes that just takes some time. And then changing it out of outfits. So if anyone knows how to do that without having to actually change every 2 seconds, that would be helpful. But no, really, it's another creative space to really just shine a light on sometimes the not so bright path of people. Just learning to laugh again and to play. Like I don't know when the last time that I actually played, you know?
Well,
Mm.
you need to go over to Sarah's house because she'll have you playing. That's one of my favorite things about her. She's like always got these crazy games and these things. And I feel like a child. It's great.
I love it. Looking at that furry thing in the back, it's like,
But that's my coat.
You could use that for a video for a TikTok.
Don't worry, my clothes
like
are awesome.
Kardashian videos.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
We'll have a little fun house. You'll have to come over. We'll play. I do love playing. I think that's a nice little
Yeah,
message.
Sarah, you always add a little touch of like something, some humor to every party or thing, I find. So
I love
it's
that.
important. Keep doing it.
That's lovely.
Thank you, and I'm glad you are enjoying it.
We'll have to
Yeah,
keep going.
Martina, you are the up and coming TikTok star. So everyone go and follow her because honestly, they are great. And I'm so happy to hear it's such a nice creative outlet for you. We love them.
And it might provide some additional opportunities down the road. We'll see.
Yeah.
I've been
You never,
approached
anything can happen.
due to my TikTok, so we'll see what happens.
We're rooting for you. This has been so good.
Yeah,
I love this.
this is like my therapy. Thanks. Thanks.
We have one final question, if I may, Sarah. We just want to know, we ask everyone this question, Martina, what lights you up right now?
That lights me up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. It might sound boring, but it's just exploring. It's really diving into the work that I've been sharing on my podcast. That's kind of been my thing that's been so exciting for me. Um, and just having conversations with people, just talking about things that are so real. That's really been kind of the fire that's been pushing me forward in this creative avenue, and I'm really excited to see how it's going to create new things in the future. So yeah,
I love the
Can
unknown.
feel the
I
fire.
know, I feel it, but I'm just like I have to just keep it, and I'm manifesting in another way.
Yes.
One day you will.
I love that. Well, Martina, thank you so much for coming on. Before we wrap, we are going to play a round of Westigrams. So one of our favorite parts of the show, made up game, as you may or may not know. Real easy. We're all still on our virtual rival and queen room. So all you got to do is pick a number between 1 and 88.
Well,
12. Let me see what we got. All right. What would you think about being vegan for a week? Could you do it?
a week? Ooh.
Yes.
I know those who are vegan are probably like, come on, it's not really that bad. I mean, I could try it. I could. It would be really hard though.
I'm with you. I like that this is like an honest answer, because everyone else is like, oh, it's fine, I'll be vegan for a week. And I'm like rolling my eyes, being like, kill me now.
No, it's not fine for me. I'm not gonna lie about that. And those who know me are probably listening like, yeah, no, that's not gonna be easy for us.
I love that one.
So am I a vegan for a week?
Pardon?
I could do a day.
All right. I respect that.
You give it a try.
I need a teacher.
A personal chef. Yeah, that would make it much easier.
So much easier. Ashley, pick a number for me.
I'm going to pick 37.
It's the nicest day of the year and you have $20 to your name. How are you going to spend it? It could be like today.
Today was beautiful.
So beautiful.
I did do one of these things. Had a glass of wine on a patio.
Ooh.
On the waterfront. Yeah.
What patio?
The Bicycle Thief.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. I just saw it, and earlier in the day, I thought that'd be a really nice thing. And then when I saw it, I was like, I'm doing it. So,
love that.
I mean, I got whatever $14 or $12 glass of wine, and there goes $20.
I mean, $6 for the tip.
Exactly. Martina, what would you do if you had $20 on the nicest day of the year? How are you spending it?
Oh, $20. I would probably put some gas in the car and go to find like the most beautiful private beach that no one else is on. Might take some driving and thinking to get there and back.
I like that.
You can put the gas in the car with your $20. I'll grab a $20 bottle of wine and we'll all go to the beach together.
I'm gonna come through with that.
Or can get the $20
of no. I'll get $20 of food that is not vegan.
There we go.
Crackers and cheese.
Ladies, we've just created ourselves a date.
I love this. All right, I'm gonna do 62. If they could talk, would you rather have a conversation with a dog or a cat? This one's hard because I like dogs more, I think. But I feel like I really don't understand cats, and that could be fascinating.
Well, you're talking to a cat mom, so
I
probably
know.
want to know what your cats are saying.
Absolutely, because they are assholes.
Well, that's what I think. Sometimes cats are assholes, and I'm like, why?
I feel like they'd be so opinionated.
Well, that's it. But you know, the one that you saw early in the window, you're not supposed to have favorites, but he's my favorite. He's the first one, and those ones are all.
You can have favorites.
But he is the most loving towards me. But there's times where I look at him and he'll do something, and I look at him and he just gives me the most evil look. And I'm like, okay, we're not going to do this today. Those are the moments I'm like, I wonder what you're thinking right now, because you are glaring at me.
I want to know. I have one pop culture reference and then I'll stop talking. When you said you're not supposed to pick favorites, the only thing I thought of, this is the only thing I know about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, is that Kim Kardashian openly talks about her favorite child. And it's like the moment where I've seen Kanye West being like, you should not have a favorite child.
Who's her favorite child?
I think at once she says that it changes, but at the time it was, I don't know what their names are, to be very honest with you. It was the boy, one of the boys. There's two boys now.
Saint.
it might have been Saint. Like she was just going on about how cute he was and how much she just like loved him the most right now. And like Kanye had to give her like a moment of like, I'm sorry, you are not allowed to say that, which I thought was really a beautiful and entertaining situation in itself.
Now, like now that's recorded.
Well, I think that was his point, is he's like, this is recorded in history forever.
Ever. Yeah.
I think that you're probably right, though. People probably have different favorites all the time, like with any sibling, though they or child, sorry, but they probably shouldn't say those out loud, Sarah. You're right.
No. So thank you to Kanye for that hot tip. We appreciate it, and we agree with you in this instance. Martina, this one time, where can people find you?
In Cole Harbor.
Okay, so just could you give us your full
what
address?
Street? Yeah. No, please don't.
So on Instagram, at lifeoutloud_NS is my business, and at lady_Kelade. I know my last name's Kelades, so it's just a play on words.
I love it.
Or Instagram is actually cool. That's, I mean, Life Out Loud NS on Facebook, and lifeoutloud.ca.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Send me a message, connect. I'd love to know what you think. The
Yes.
concept of the content of everything. Yeah, I'm here for it. So
Well, we'll include all of those links in the show notes so people can connect with you. And we are so, so thankful that you came on today. This is just like it's lovely to chat with you and really learn more about you. Like we've recently connected. So it's so beautiful to have this conversation today.
yeah, and I'm so grateful for you inviting me on your platform, and just even holding this space to have these kind of conversations, which I think it's so important. And so thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We love you.